I'd like to have everybody stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. First item, second item on our agenda, I guess, is the approval of the agenda itself. I think there is one change to it. Is that right, Tom?
There's at least one change. The Budget and Finance Committee has withdrawn the CO3 for our review. They want to do some more work on it. Take CO3 off the agenda. And here it's the contract with Secrets. That is a contractual negotiation discussion. Probably should have been put in closed session because it is a contractual discussion about them leasing parking spaces over at the beach.
So you want to remove that, put it in closed session? Is that what you're saying?
That's I would have
Chairman?
that, yes.
No one can hear anything back here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nobody can hear anything that Tom said. So could you start over from the very first word, Tom?
You couldn't hear me?
No.
No.
Okay. By all means, I'll start over. Sorry. Didn't swallow the mic enough.
Not your fault. It's the mic. It's Tom. Somebody else's.
Yeah, right.
Okay, Bob, it's your fault. I'm sorry. It's ours too. It's your fault. The motion for second reading of Resolution CO3, the Budget and Finance Committee yesterday voted to request that be withdrawn from this agenda. They want to do more work on it. So, as the liaison to them, I'm taking it off, suggesting it be taken off the agenda, and that the motion, the Secrets Beach Club lease renewal, which is the contract discussion and negotiations over them leasing the spaces, that is in fact a contractual issue that should probably be done in a closed session and announce the results of those discussions to keep to the standard of doing contract negotiations in closed session.
Any discussion about that? All those approve the changes in the agenda? Aye?
So moved.
So moved. Okay. Moving along.
Is there a second?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah,
A second.
Okay, I didn't hear
You
you.
second.
you were looking down.
My ears were
It's
so
okay. It's okay, Cheryl.
Take a
That's
vote.
only one mistake we allow you today.
Take a vote.
Okay. Now we move along to the.
He did be.
Did we take a vote?
I thought we did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry.
If you thought.
Well, we go back. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Very good. All right. Now we're moving along to the approval of minutes. The first one we have is the February 19th, 2016 minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Oh, wait, I have a
Discussion.
question. Is this the one that has the $100 request in it, or is this
Yes.
the minute?
Yes.
Do we get that done? Did they get their $100? It said that the way it reads, Bob, is that you're going to update us at the next meeting. And because I'm old, I don't remember if you updated us or not.
Is this for the bird on top of the pintail?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, they haven't received their $100 yet. They will.
Okay.
Any other changes or corrections on the February 19th minute? All right, move to approve. All those in favor? Aye. Second group of minutes is the February 25th meeting, regular board meeting.
Move to approve.
Second it. Any discussion?
Motion.
Move the motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on, and we have the March 14th meeting. I call the abortive.
I have some changes
Okay.
associated with that, which I have provided to Michelle. First of all, our Carmine was not present at that meeting. Additionally, there's just a clerical error. Under public comments, line 1, strike the second T here. Under comprehensive plan survey, second line, I would like inserted words after presentation while waiting for Dr. Derricker to arrive. That's the posture we were in at that point. And then down towards the bottom, third line from the bottom, after Dr. Derricker, I asked to insert the word present. It was my comment.
Third line up from the bottom, where it says Mr. Terry believes the data can be worked. Believe the exact word, I may be wrong, but I believe it was the data can be segregated, meaning that the information from non-members can be segregated out from the rest of the folks.
So I move to approve as amended.
All those second? Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain. Wasn't that? I was listening. Okay, he was abstention. No. I should mention today that my remarks, first of all, that Dave Stevens is not here because it has a personal business situation involving the funeral, so he will not attend that down. We're also having Bill Cordwell attend on via telephone. Probably what? So I'll continue my remarks. The other thing I wanted to say was I want to congratulate the Comprehensive Planning Committee for all the hard work that they've done and getting this up to the point where we are now. The board is still wrestling with it, looking at it, looking it over, and there's no firm conclusion at this point. But I did want to thank you. Now, look, we're at the point, yeah, we want to talk, get Phil Cordwell on the phone. Yep. You got him now? Okay. So that concludes my remarks. Moving on, Bob.
Good morning, Bill. Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning.
Morning.
All right. GM report, you have the narrative as usual, and then I'll put it in presentation format so everyone has the opportunity to take a look at membership as well as the board, and I'll answer any questions you may have. Starting with, let's start with the numbers real quick. This was in the, it's in your narrative, it was also in the monthly controllers report. Golf actually closed the month ahead of budget, about $20,000 worth. Net revenues were $3,600 better. Expenses were almost $17,000 better. So the combination actually ended the bottom line for the month as a positive variance, which is very good. Golf is currently worse than budget. However, if you look at the year-over-year comparison, they're about $8,000 ahead of last year. So this month, the March and April are really going to be kind of the parts where we're going to have the most significant, I think, impact on what the bottom line for the year is going to be, because this opening, season, when you're looking at weather and package play, which has a lot to do with the revenue side. Watching the expense side, when they're managing expenses, the concern is, are they putting enough chemical? Are they maintaining the course? The course seems to be in very, very good shape. Doesn't appear that we've lost any ground in the condition of the course, so we feel pretty good where we are with that. It looks like their expense control from the maintenance seems to be working out right now, which is good. Yacht Club net revenues were $5,300, worse than budget for the month. Expenses were higher than budget by about $14,000, almost $15,000. We finished the month $20,000 below budget. Year to date, however, the operating performance is still is at $87,000, so that's a positive for us. The year to date is behind budget by $87,000, but we're still $18,000 to the profit, so we're still in the black as of the close of business for this current reporting cycle. Performance is also, if you look at year-over-year performance, which is kind of the important metric to see if we're moving in a good direction, we're approximately $136,000 over the previous year for the same time period. So again, another positive sign that things are moving in a good direction for the financial picture of the club. The last of the three major amenities that we usually talk about, aquatics. Revenues were approximately $7,500 better than budget for the month. Expenses were $6,600 worse than budget for the month. However, the net result is they hit pretty much on budget for the month. They were about $800 ahead. Year to date, aquatics is $95,000 ahead of budget and almost $160 ahead of last year's same time period. So the performance here is extremely well. I think extremely effective. Expense management combined with revenue generating opportunities and the forward focus has really turned that department around. So we're real excited about that. That's going to have a positive bottom line compared to what the budget was supposed to be this year. Before
you go beyond aquatics, Bob,
yes,
just for speaking for myself, I want to extend thanks to the team for that effort this year. This is phenomenal, considering the history of this part of our community, the financial part of it at least. So just at least for me, pass on. Thank you very much for a strong effort.
I'll second that because I see Colby almost every day. She is wonderful position to stay with her stay.
Yeah, the whole team over there is working real hard. So we're excited about a lot more visitors in which is nice. Give you some updates on some projects. We'll start Beach Club, Manklin Meadows, bridge repairs, the reserve study, St. Martin's drainage, roadway line striping, trimming, and paving. I'll give you some highlight or go over each of those with. Manklin Meadows project. Let's start with that one. This particular project, as you all know, we had some budgetary differences from what was budgeted for the project to what first bid. We only had one bid on the project. Came in 3 times what the original budget amount was for. So we've had to regroup and take a look at how we might still be able to accomplish work down in that Manklin area. By phasing the project in, and if you recall last month, we talked about that, coming at a phased approach and looking at some design changes that may be helpful to us to allow work to begin and over the next 2 years get the project completed and hopefully doing so in a more cost-effective way. So breaking it into 2 phases. Phase 1, which is what we're recommending, and it's what was in your packet when you picked it up on Friday or Monday. Site work to be limited to the project on the east side, basically the playground side. That's most people know it that way, playground or community garden side. Do all of the earthwork in that particular area. What that allows us to do is focus the earthwork, the soil mitigation, and most importantly, the stormwater mitigation, which is where the project kind of skyrocketed in price. The stormwater mitigation efforts for the entire complex really ballooned up the cost for the entire project. So if you break it down into the 2 sides, we found we can address it and capitalize on getting a number of the components done on that side, and then focus next year on the baseball or the softball field side. So let me break that down a little further for you. Site work include clearing, earthwork, erosion, sediment control, stormwater, everything associated there. One of the things we're also looking at for stormwater mitigation, particularly on that side right now, we're doing a soil test. I believe it was accomplished this week. We won't have the results for another week, but the soil test determines how much water penetrates or saturates down through the soil. It may allow us to take a more cost-effective approach to the pond or the stormwater mitigation efforts there. This was a direct recommendation. We were talking with some of the county folks about the overall cost of the project, met with them, and they asked why the original design was the stormwater mitigation area, why it was designed that way. We expressed it through our engineer and designed it, and they said, well, go back to your engineer and see if maybe this, or this would also, fill that bill. So we did that, and he said, yes, but we need to do the soil test to make sure it doesn't, the water penetrates properly and doesn't pollute, there's, when it runs off, pollute into the St. Martin's. So that's where the soil testings come in. What that will allow us to do, if that works out, is create a different type of holding pond and put different types of plantings in and around the pond that will absorb some of the water runoff and mitigate any pollutants going into the waterways. Depending on the type of drainage and how quickly it drains through the soil will determine the type of plantings that go in. So there's a whole approach to it. So that's what we're working on now. Once we know that, we'll have a much better idea of what type of pond we can build. With that being said, the estimates that you have are worst case scenario for the most expensive type of stormwater mitigation we have. If we find that those efforts where we do the soil mitigation shows that we can actually do it in a different effect, the cost will actually come down. So our hopes are to come down. The cost associated with that are for the most expensive stormwater mitigation holding pond that they can build at the time, because that's what the original drawings had.
At the risk of sounding like I'm opening up my bag of rocks and starting to throw.
I expect that.
So what I think I just heard was that our engineering folks gave us a plan that was the most expensive when they might have done this soil test beforehand and come up with a different design that wouldn't have basically derailed possibly this project. I just want to find out where the train went off the track here, because if that's what happened, then let's put it out there.
Well, you know my comment. It's my responsibility, no matter.
Well, I know it's your
ultimately
responsibility,
bring it
but
to,
all that being said, Captain of the ship, and I respect that. Bottom line is, we had an engineering company who we paid to design something for us. And what I think I just heard was that the design we got back was done without doing a soil test that might have given us a design that would have cost us. That's either a correct statement or it isn't.
It would be a correct statement.
Okay, thank you.
Wait a minute. I want to get something clear in my head here. This project began my first year on the board, about right? Yeah, somewhere.
Yeah.
And I remember you went through a lot of study. You pulled together a recommendation, a report. We had some pictures up on the wall, and somehow or another we came up with somewhere in the neighborhood of $365,000 to do this project. And I'm just not clear as to how and that project included 4 pickleball courts and 2 platform tennis courts. That's what that project involved. But I'm not clear as to how we got from there to where we are now, and how we went from $365,000 to $750,000. And that is the delta, the difference between that, which is approximately $400,000, give or take a couple thousand. It's a couple thousand among friends, right? That all has to do with drainage and stormwater mitigation. $400,000.
Majority of it has to do with drainage and stormwater mitigation efforts. Yes, sir.
$400,000. I'm not an engineer, so I don't know. If that's what it is, that's what it is. Hey, that seems like a lot of money to me for stormwater mitigation and drainage. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
unless this drainage test changes things significantly, it's not clear to me what difference it makes breaking this up into two parts. Because if majority of the expense that we're talking about, $400,000.
I'm about to walk through the next slide. Let me give you the next 3 bullets and tell you the next steps we're going to take. And I think that will answer the question for you and everyone else. And then we can come back around to it. Is that all right? Okay. Using what I'm proposing to you facing in the project, we have 4 pickleball courts. We're revising community parking lot, the location. If you recall, it's a flag lot. We're going to go straight in with it, gravel on. Playground reconstruction, we've already acquired the vertical posts, the materials we need, so it's a matter of where we're going to, and that was something independent that we needed to do anyway. So we already have all that accomplished, okay? So by focusing on one side of the project, you see the overall cost in the bids that I gave, put in your board packets, includes all the work on that side. So basically what we had budgeted to do the entire project, what I'm recommending is let's get moving on at least a portion of it, because what this does by phasing it in tackles 3 primary objectives for us of the 4 we were trying to get. Primary objective 1 is to get the playground rebuilt. Well, we can rebuild in place, but if we're going to do any work there in the future, it's better to go ahead and set the post where they're going to be for the next 10, 15 years. Objective number 2, create enough parking. Well, this allows us to create enough parking for the addition of the pickleball amenity down there. And our goal number 3 was to create some pickleball courts. 4th allows us to free up the tennis courts and repaint them and repurpose them back for tennis as originally intended. So we're really taking care of playground, additional parking, pickleball, and tennis. The last part is the platform tennis courts. So if I can tackle 4 of the areas with only 1 still needing attention, it makes sense to me to at least propose that to you. Yes, ma'am?
If you'll recall, I had asked you to take a look at whether or not the area where you're intending or proposing the 4 pickleball courts could be split between 2 pickleball and 2 platform, which to me would be, if it's doable, would be a better compromise for this first phase, because it addresses both pickleball and platform instead of making platform wait until whenever.
Yes.
And I didn't get an answer back as to whether or not that was doable.
Have spoken to some folks about that. Not everybody. Some folks have played both courts. The fencing for the platform tennis courts is very different style and type of fencing, tension fencing, versus the pickleball courts. So the application is different. So if you notice, I'm back to 4 pickleball courts. Downsizing a little bit so we get pickleball taken care of. Platform still has theirs and make tennis whole again. So when we looked at combining the 2 after talking with some folks that participate in those activities, it did not seem like a workable solution to combine the 2 on the same site. That's why we went in that direction. Now, I don't play either. I'm not familiar with fencing, but I do know it's a very different fencing with court and those type of things.
Bob, isn't it true that we already have platform tennis courts?
Oh, yes, sir.
But we don't have any pickleball.
That's correct.
Whoa. No. We do have pickleball courts. What we've done is we have relined parkour courts.
We have tennis courts that have been repainted.
Tennis courts that we've relined for pickleball, and you can get 2 of these pickleball courts on 1 tennis court. Now, somebody told me 4. 4. Excuse me.
Up to.
My expert over here says 4, so you can get 4 on 1 court. So we have what, 8 pickleball courts now?
They didn't construct it. They didn't construct it. I think they 2 on each.
2 on
tennis
each.
platform.
Okay, so you got 4 now.
Yes.
Yeah. So no, we do have pickleball.
Well, my understanding is that the lines are totally different, and people who play tennis on there afterwards can't play.
People don't play tennis that much. So,
That may be true. They can't.
no, well, it's a fact. I got my expert down here at the end of the table. How often are you there?
3 or 4 days a week.
Okay. How often are those courts used?
This time of year, hardly ever.
Okay. By pickleball players or anything?
No, they don't really play in the winter time on these courts out
And how about spring and summer?
Yeah, only a certain
Hardcore courts.
Yeah, they will come at a certain time during the day, and I'll show up one time.
Now I'm talking about tennis players.
Tennis players, usually in the summertime, they're using the 8 soft courts, and even at that point, they're all 8 are not utilized.
Okay.
Bob, I have a couple questions about the phase also.
Yes.
The initial proposal cost, because you're moving courts away from the Macon Creek Tennis Complex to another site, you need power and lighting to the courts and the clubhouse parking lot. It would cost us $224,000 to do the lighting, in addition to the cost of the courts to light these courts. And I was wondering why I didn't see that in the original proposal. To do any lighting, which was a huge part of the increase, to move the courts away from the Macon Creek tennis area. In addition, when I'm looking at the bid package, there's 17 exclusions for extra costs in that package, and I'm very concerned about adding these 17 exclusions that are not included in this base bid price, and how much they would increase cost of phase 1. And are you or not doing any electrical work for phase 1 to light the courts that we're putting in?
Yeah, the initial intent was not, again, I'm trying to do a cost-effective approach to take a step forward instead of just, genning this around and around. So no, we limited the lighting them up at night, so we could get courts put in. And when we're not realigning the parking lot, the paved parking lot, I don't have to change all the lighting pattern over there, which is what the Plan 4, which is what the board approved. The master plan for the entire complex there required us to redo all the lighting in that area. So that's why the expense was there. By eliminating that, I can reduce my cost to get this phase accomplished. What I've tried to do is find a way to reduce cost and get it moved. That's what I've done.
But it seems to me if you continue with all the phases, it's going to wind up to be over $700,000. No, that's.
Again, I'm giving you phase 1. The board will have to approve this in steps. So what I did was slow it down, regroup, and reprocess to see if there was a better way to approach it. Again, I looked at my 5 primary objectives. I can clear 4 of them with this approach. So I'm presenting it now. Board can certainly say no, keep seeking the other, it doesn't matter to me. I brought you an approach that I believe will be effective in solving 4 of my 5 objectives.
Bob, the difficulty that I have is that if we go in for, just pick a number, 250,000, then it comes back to us and say, okay, now phase 2 is going to be another 400,000. But you already got 250,000 in the deal or in the project. So what's another $450,000? And I think what we should be doing is addressing the overall cost. And I understand what you're trying to move it forward. I give you credit for that, and I will accept that. I think we have to understand as a board what we're committing our membership to, our citizens to, in terms of expense. How much money we're going to spend there. So I like to deal with, as I think Ms. Jacobs has come from the same place. I think I want to deal from a totality point of view. How much is this whole thing going to cost us?
The current totality cost is $749,000 with 1 bidder. It was too high. I didn't even bring it to you because it wouldn't work. Regroup. address it differently. What are my primary objectives? I rattled what all 5 were. How do I accomplish the majority of them with money that's already been approved? That's what's being brought to you now.
But
That's not. I'm taking a
No,
stand
I
to try to
understand.
fix it. If the board has another approach they'd like us
no.
to take.
I want to understand what you
Yeah,
just said.
yeah, okay. Well, let's start with, we talked, now this may help. We talked about the project, right? The first layout of the project, and we were going to start pretty much where we are now.
Right.
We had a plan to do that. We were moving down a path to do so, and then it got derailed a little bit. A lot of passion about the different players, let's regroup. We designed plan 2. Still wasn't enough. Plan 3, the 4th time I brought a plan design that we had drawn up was this master plan, which included changing the parking lot, moving it, which is where the expense ended up driving the numbers way up. In addition to the stormwater mitigation, with all of that additional work in plan 4. That's what we bid out. It came in, it was just astronomical. So what we did was regroup. I went to what are the primary objectives? I told you what the 5 were. How do I accomplish the majority of those with the money that's already been? That's what I did. Now, if you want it addressed differently, please let me know, and I'll go back and do it again. But I think when we can get 4 of the 5 objectives accomplished within the money allocated, it's a reasonable approach.
Money. What are we talking about? Money allocated now?
I have it in there, 200 and...
Okay. Your number. Money allocated meaning not the 360, not the original concept. 300.
No, we've scaled back a little so we can get as much as we can for the dollar amount.
Understand.
Yes, sir.
Well, question, Bob, if you finish phase 1, the first 4 objectives, the 5th one's not done.
Yes, sir.
What would happen if the board said, we don't want to do the 5th objective, we don't want to pay additional money? Could it be standalone as it is? Or
Well, no. Well, the next goal is to take the same approach. Okay, what's happening right now? You think about it. We've just finished a budget cycle. We're about to start our new year. So in the fall, we're starting the next budget cycle. By learning what the different stormwater holding ponds are going to be, there's a couple positives, if anything's positive. A couple positives come up. I had one of the platform members approach me recently with a possibility of raised platform courts, which before we didn't think there was it's just why do we need raised courts? We don't typically have heated courts. But the flip side of that is if you raise the courts, does that allow the footprint no longer count for stormwater mitigation because it now can absorb the water? So you no longer have a surface that is impervious. Interesting concept. Something we hadn't thought about. So and now apparently you can buy used platform tennis courts, the whole kit for the courts, the raised platform tennis courts. Well, that may help us offset some of the stormwater mitigation efforts that need to occur. Second thing is we need to relook at the parking lot design, which was on Plan 4, where we're shifting it, enlarging it, because when you do that, that's also creating some impervious surface, which is adding to the stormwater mitigation. So the effort would be get this phase accomplished and immediately begin working on the other side, but downsize the parking. We can still put, in my opinion, 2 platform tennis courts there without having to realign the parking lot. So that would be our next approach to do that and consider doing the raised platform ones to see if that, we'll have to work with county and state folks, see if that'll allow better opportunity for less stormwater mitigation. I think between the less, not moving apart, not repaving the parking lot with the original big design and moving those and potentially raising them, I think we have a shot at dramatically reducing those costs. So we come in with a much more reasonable approach and not have to do all the additional stormwater mitigation at the level of the 750 bid. The other thing is, if the soil test shows that area drains the way we hope it will, and we can downsize the type of pond, the cost of the pond, the stormwater mitigation pond, the holding area, then we'll apply that to the other side, which has the larger pond area. So there's a number of factors occurring that I believe will reduce the cost when we move to phase 2. I just don't have that work accomplished yet.
Bob, it seems to me that the high cost factors involved in this project are stormwater mitigation and the lighting.
And the lighting.
Put it in the transformer, put lighting to
Right.
Now, What I'd like the board to consider in these proposals is the fact that there's about a little over 100 members for each of the three racquets in members. Okay? We currently have 12 tennis courts for a little over 100 members. 12. We currently have, well, we're looking to propose courts, outdoor courts, for the summer use for pickle members, in addition to the courts, the 3 courts they have indoors all year round here that they use 3 or 4 days a week. Platform has a little over 100 members. They have 4 courts. Now, the tennis courts, which has lighting, has no stormwater mitigation issues. 12 courts. If you dedicated 2 of those tennis courts to pickle, all the racket sport teams all in the same area, the lighting's already there. There's no mitigation issues. You're saving almost hundreds of thousands of dollars to dedicate these 2 courts that are completely underutilized right now. Tennis would still have 10 for a little over 100 members. Pickle would have 11 courts because you could put up to 4 on each one of those tennis. They would have 11 courts to use for a little over 100 members. Platform only has 4 for over 100, and they've been utilizing those 4 for many years. And they would get their 2 for the cost of 2 platform courts. And all you have to do is dedicate the lining on those 2 tennis courts. Tennis still would have plenty of courts to play. Per member, more than any of the 3 racket sports, the other 2. And we would save hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars and still give pickle 11 courts to use. And I think that the board should consider that. I think it's a better option for the association membership as a whole. We still need to do the parking lot. I agree, because there'll be more parking at the Night Creek Tennis facility. The playground, we wouldn't have to just take down 25 trees and open up that whole area with lighting and all kinds of transformers. The kids would have a nice playground. You could even expand the playground for children and put in a couple more pieces of apparatus, so they would benefit from it. The natural area of the playground area would stay the same. All the racket sports would be in the same area together, not spread out in another field. And I think we would save the entire membership hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we would still be able to serve racket sports people. And that's something I would like the board to consider. I think the cost overruns here are too intense. I don't think when they originally approved the plan, they realized that it would be over $700,000. And basically, really what it is, it's just to serve about 100 members out of over 12,000 people that live here. In fact, the membership in pickle has gone down from 2050. So it's not exploding, and I don't think that we need to invest this much money into something that we're not sure of. We put so much money in the tennis complex with 12 courts, and they're not being used now. We can't predict the future. I'd like the board to consider that. I think at this point, I would like to just table
We can't act on this. But
Okay.
Okay. I would just simply add to what Tom said. I think the piece of this is also the redoing of the playground, repositioning it, putting up a fence so that the kids are safer. We get an expanded parking lot.
Yes.
Let's make sure, you did mention that in the comment, I want to make sure that piece of this does not get lost, because reorienting that playground and putting up the fence reassociates the traffic pattern, keeps the kids away from, keeps you parking there. 100%. So I think, that part of this needs to stay. As far as the rest of it goes, obviously I was the liaison to this advisory committee that helped put the 3 different players together to work jointly to come up with a solution. You are right. The price that came out of this is much higher than anybody thought it was going to be. You're absolutely correct. Jack, you made comments earlier. I assume that you're not representing that advisory committee in your comments. Do we know what they think?
That's a very, very good question. And that's why I think this whole situation should be deferred till they come back and have their meeting in April. And we go through this and we put Tom's proposal on the table vis-a-vis Bob's solution on the table, and let's kick it around, and let's do what is not only in the best interest of the people that represent the racket sports players, but these folks out here, the community as a whole, and do something fiscally smart. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you,
Bill's
Tom?
trying to say something.
Tom?
Bill's trying to say something. Bill, go ahead.
This committee has given us numerous proposals, and what is coming out of here was their last proposal. So to wait for another meeting to get another proposal is just typical Ocean Pines. Let's don't do this. And they want their last proposal, and their recommendation was to do the 8 pickleball courts now. Now, I keep hearing, well, this one has 100, this one has 100, this one has 100. So how can I justify going down to 2 tennis courts and 6 pickleball courts and going from there? I just don't understand the justification of that. We've been down this road on numerous occasions. I believe that's why, this phase 2, this phase 1 came in, and I think it's a smart way to go until we know what's going on in the race court, race platform courts, the whatever. I mean, this is just what we do. Keep, hey, well, find out what this person wants to do. Find out what that person wants to do. I don't understand. You're asking, let's shut down, more tennis courts underutilized, but I think we're talking about the hardcourt courts, which they only have 4 of. So that would take them down to 2 hardcore courts for the winter. I just don't, all this. Well, we got to worry about lighting. We got to worry about this. We got to worry about that. Well, okay, yeah, we do. But you're asking, let's wait until another recommendation. Well, we have that recommendation in writing.
Actually, Bill's comment about the hardcore courts is correct. That they have a limited number of hardcore courts to use in non-summertime, and this would cut in half that number. So, that is a fact.
You can easily take one of those off courts. No hard. They do not use all these.
Well, that would cost money too. So, okay.
I'm just saying, any 2 courts. There's 12. Way too many. 10 would suffice. You can break it up however you want to break it up. How many hard, how many soft. What's best for them? Let tennis people decide that. That's it.
Well, I'm a little confused at this point from what Bill just said. Did this proposal that phase 1, phase 2 now, was that vetted through the advisory committee? Just either yes or no. It either went through the advisory committee or it didn't.
This final write-up did not go back through the advisory. Now, understand, we've been through this twice.
Yeah,
where we looked at, we got recommendations from tennis platform and pick. We started down one path. It got slightly off track when it got down to this type of spot again. Okay, wait a minute. Let's regroup. Who uses. So we approached it a different way. Now we're here at the same type of thing with this. We're about to do the same thing we've done at least once, if not twice before. I realize board members change and time has passed, but we've done these evaluations with the number of players. We've heard from all 3. The folks are going to be most upset with this, and I knew it when I was going to put it up here, are going to be the platform. And it's not my intent to upset any of the groups, okay, but I know how passionate they are about the platform, as all 3 groups are. But the challenge is we have to do something at some point to keep talking about it. I'm going to make this presentation again and again, and it's still going to be a phased project. I don't know how else to do it any more cost effective. I just don't. Unless you redo courts, but that was the first, to your point, Tom, that was considered the first time this went around. What was looking at how many tennis, we have 12 tennis courts, can we reutilize? The final analysis was no, leave tennis with their courts. They'll temporarily have some displacement on those 4 hard courts while this process occurs. That has been, it's not new. I'm just saying, I know you weren't part of that, but it's not a new.
The pickle plays out the summer. Tennis doesn't play on the summer. So the courts, it doesn't really affect them last summer using those courts. To solve the issue, you dedicate 2 courts to them, paint them. They have 8 courts, up to 8 courts. They could put 6 if they want on there. They could put 8 on there. But you can solve that issue right now this season.
Understood.
I mean, you're looking for a quick solution.
I'm not looking for a quick solution. I'm trying to meet the objectives that were presented to me over the last 2 years. Nothing's been quick about this one, I promise you.
Well, it's contention, and there's a reason why there is some contention.
Understood.
Excuse me. Let me just recap, however, whether or not what Tom's proposing is decided. Where we are based on what you told me earlier, and you know I'm all for not dragging our feet on stuff. I'm all for get it done. However, you've left us with 2 questions unanswered. One is, what difference will the soil test make in terms of the cost? And number 2, you've learned something now about raising platform tennis surfaces, whatever. I don't play these sports, so I don't know. So whether or not there is yet another potential solution, those 2 questions are not yet answered. And what you said was, if we do not lower the cost of the stormwater mitigation, nothing really changes from the $750. You're just breaking it in half and doing part of it now and part of it later. And so the overall cost doesn't really change. It's just broken down into 2 parts. So as I said, I'm not for dragging your feet, but I think until we have the answer to those 2 questions and how that might impact the overall cost, plus perhaps considering what Tom's proposing, I do think we have to.
Oh, it's okay. I mean, it's
and one other thing that I before my knees went bad, I used to play platform, and it's played on a platform. That's how it got its name, platform tennis. They're all raised. In the Baltimore metropolitan area, some of the most competitive courts in the Baltimore metropolitan area are raised. I haven't played platform tennis down here because my knees are bad, and, I can't do it anymore. But, gee whiz, that's logical to me. Also, I want to point out one other thing. In next year's budget, we have, Bob, I think it's $145,000 for the resurfacing of the hardcore tennis courts down there at the Swimming Racket Club.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, it's not like we are eliminating 2 courts per se. We're going to resurface. How many courts are there down there? 4, 6? I forgot.
6 courts.
6, something like
4 or
that.
6, Jack.
Yeah, 6. And they're correct. So, we get that redone. Oh my gosh. I mean, that's plenty of opportunity to play hardcore tennis in the summertime. And I'm like Tom, it's hot. Those courts are hot. They're black. They absorb heat. They don't reflect it back. So they don't play. They play on the soft court. So my recommendation would be the same as Cheryl's. But I would also strongly recommend that we really get back to the platform tennis concept that race.
Okay, let me try to answer one of your 2 questions. Okay, the cost for the side that we're proposing is the only thing that costs on that side, regardless of the additional raising the platform, changing the lighting, none of that impacts phase 1. The only thing that impacts is we have worst case of what needs to be put in there. So phase 1 does not change the overall cost. The only change would be is if we don't put pickleball courts there. Other than that, I've got to get the playground rebuilt. Okay, I'd like to do, or either we don't do anything on that side, but I have to do playground. So we've got to do that, as part of our process. And if your intent is to put pickleball courts there, these are your costs for that side. So the questions have been answered. There's no buying the elevated platform tennis courts. Okay, and basically all that means, instead of playing on the ground, you're playing on something taller, so there's room underneath. The ground cover is not disturbed. That's all that really means. That will only change that second part, but it's not going to have an impact on this phase of the project. So there is no real impact. It does impact the overall cost of the entire project, but as I said, I just believe not moving the parking lot, not changing the major lighting, and looking at those are going to bring those additional costs much better in line, and we budget for that. So this phase, again, if we wait on it, we're going to have it's. Again, Ford makes a decision. I'll deliver on whatever you tell me to do. I think this is a reasonable approach.
How much time will it take to get the results of the soil test and the answer about the raised platform?
The soil test is underway for the site, the phase 1 area. We have not done the soil test on the other for the drain, and they're separated by the pavement, so I'm not sure. We'll have to go back a couple weeks to redo the soil test on that side. But we won't do that until we determine exactly where the courts are going to be. We can't determine that until we determine if we're going to move the parking lot or not.
So 30 days, put this on next month's agenda, and in the meantime, try to talk to people and talk about it. Get the results from your testing and see if people be willing to buy into it. If it saves us $400,000, that seems reasonable.
No, fair enough. The biggest decision here is if you want to realign tennis courts or not. That's really where we are.
Yeah,
that's what it boils down to.
I think it's important that new members were not here at the time that this was done understand some of the history here. When the three sports came together, before they came together, they weren't together at all. You're talking about the Hatfields and McCoys over in that Mango Creek. They found a way to come together. The commitment to the tennis people was that the lines would be put on the tennis court so that the pickleball people had a place to play. But the commitment from this organization and the board at that time, albeit we didn't know the whole price, the commitment was that those lines would come off of those courts and those courts would be returned so that they would have those courts to use in the wintertime. So just understand, there was a commitment to our tennis community that those courts would be returned to the way they were for their willingness to participate in this cooperative effort to allow for pickleball to play and have a place to play right now. That doesn't mean I'm arguing. I'm just making sure you got a little background. There is a commitment out here to these three sports as to what this overall plan was trying to accomplish. No, we didn't know it was going to be over 700,000. No question about that. But I think it's important you understand that there is a commitment to the tennis people that act would happen, that the pickleball courts, and there's one other reason.
Not for $700,000, Tom.
Jack, what are you arguing with?
I'm not.
I just said we didn't know it was 700,000.
Stay on topic.
I am staying on topic. I want people to understand that there was a commitment made to folks. Sometimes commitments can't be met because of price. I got that, but I think it would be inappropriate for you not to know that that commitment was made. And that there's also another piece of this, that having been the liaison to that group for 3 years, the sport itself of pickleball, and this is going to sound a little funny, is loud. It is very loud. It is not quiet at all. Part of the idea of keeping the platform in a place, tennis in a place, and pickle off to itself, part of that was because the sports are not identical. Their impact on noise and things, pickleball is very noisy. So all that being said, I just want to make sure you are aware the commitment that had been made, how much work went into putting these sports together. That doesn't mean you go spend $700,000. I'm not saying that. I just want to make sure you understood that as a background. Okay?
All right.
Because you weren't here.
I understand the commitment to the 100 or so tennis people, but as a board, we have a commitment to the entire community.
I agree.
And I think that's where we should focus the commitment on. What is best for the entire community, not 100 tennis players. The reality is the courts sit there empty, open most of the day. In the winter, they're hardly ever used. Okay, maybe 2 courts a couple times a week. That's it. So if you take those 2 courts, I don't really think you're really putting out tennis. Number 1. And number 2, you're right. That pickle game is loud, and I don't know if it's suitable to be around young children and infants in carriages and stuff hearing that all day long while they're trying to play in the park.
Are you saying that they use foul language? Is that what you're saying?
No,
Oh.
you're hitting hollow wood.
Fine.
Wooden bracket. It is loud. It is loud, and that would be disturbing no matter where.
you sitting and stop?
Why don't you
Oh,
say
I
that?
said 20 minutes ago.
I'm ready to move on.
All right, I'll go to the next because no action is taken during the GM presentation part.
Yep.
All right, we covered phase 2 through our discussion, so it's in your packet. Let's talk about Beach Club bathrooms. The board approved it in the budget. In doing so, it becomes a priority project for the staff, obviously. So we've already started crafting a draft RFP. It's been completed. We're actually going through a review. When we do an RFP, we always write it once, then we go back, we look at it, and we kick it around a little bit, see what other changes need to occur. We've decided the approach to the project would be a design-build approach, which basically when we put the RFP out, we ask the contractors, who are the folks experienced in this, to tell us what they believe would work for our request. And that we believe should be considered either in place or above ground. Let the contractor tell us why. And that's the advantage of a Design Plus. We want it to be a turnkey project and all-inclusive bid. All-inclusive being working with the state and county and Ocean City and the whole 9 yards. I'll cover some of that. Again, whether they renovate in place or build above ground, let's take those bids. Let's get some ideas. Let's let them bring in their best efforts. We've actually already received a preliminary bid, as you all know, and that's what part of where the budget number came from. So we're already ahead. But a project like this, you have to put out the bid anyway. So knowing that we already have a good bid there, we'll put it all out and regroup. Contractor will be responsible for meeting the federal, state, local, county, municipal, and any other code that pops up that needs to be addressed. Make sure all the work will meet the current ADA requirements. And again, they know this. Most of the major contractors do this anyway. As part of the bid, all existing piping to remain in place shall be cleaned and scoped as part of the project. Something we wanted to add because 6-7 years ago when this was originally looked at, oh, that's mine, sorry. 6 or 7 years ago when this was originally looked at, found that when they looked at some of the piping, because the sand and the buildup over the 40 years of being there at the beach, the piping, which would be this, wide with the flow, is shrunken down to about dime size and flow, just the sand and buildup over the years. So one of the things that we believe we should request is make sure that they scope especially if it's under the building, scope the piping out to make sure, it'd be nice to put a real pretty face on it, but if we don't take care of the piping underneath, we're going to have an issue. So it'll just be a requirement. I believe most contractors would do it anyway, but we've added that as part of our bid process. Here's our timetable for this. Our goal is the week of by April 11th, which really takes us to about the 15th, to have the RFP finalized and out on the street. From there, we'll do a site visit and walkthrough the week of the 25th, so basically the last week of April. To give the contractors time to come in, look at it, we'll open it up, walk through it. With the bids due back on or around June 14th, so that pretty much gives them all of May and the first 2 weeks of June to after the walkthrough. So they really have about 60 days to do their due diligence, check with the codes, ADA, those type of things. And then what we'll do is come back and review it, get any additional clarification. So by that first week of July, the staff will have sourced it and seen if there was any additional questions we have, and then we'll bring it back with recommendations to the board by mid-July for action at the regular board meeting at the end of July. Now, with that being said, once it's approved, we recognize this will be a fall-winter project, and that's why the time went ahead and laid the time. We mapped it out so what kind of timeline would be associated with this, and then we'll obviously start working with the contractors so we can be ready to start no later than the 1st of October. That way we're ready for next season with whatever the new bathrooms are going to be. So it gives us a pretty good timeline, kind of walks us through the process. This is what we're going to do, again, it was one of the major items in this year's budget approved. So we went ahead and just started building the RFP, started doing the work, identifying, looking at some of the old stuff. And that's what's helping us with this RFP. That's where when we're looking at this pipe size, don't forget, we want to have that scope. We're doing that so we put a good RFP out there. Yes, ma'am.
What is the date?
Well, it's after Labor Day, but if you recall, we stretched the second season a little bit depending on weather and events. We do end up booking events in September, so it's usually towards the latter part of September, and that's why we're looking at an October 1st. Again, we've got to be a little flexible in that. We have a great season, and the fall, or the early end of summer, early fall is really nice, and we have events booked. We may have to stretch it till October 15th. So
yeah, the other part of that though is because of we never know what weather's going to be in the off season. There might be some value in cutting the season short unless you have specific. Well, I know.
No value cutting the season short.
Well, I don't know. I mean, ultimately, what you get is a better product in the end that causes you to disturb next year's season because you can't get it completed. Then consideration. I'm just wondering.
Again, I think the timeline's extremely not only reasonable, but gives everyone plenty of time, so it's not a race to the finish. This one, that's why we jumped on it as soon as it was approved, so we could get started.
As you know, if you look on the agenda, I have a motion for this very project, and I just think it's wonderful that great minds think alike. I mean, it just really warms the cockles of my heart.
What other great minds?
I'm talking about Bob and I. We're not
including
exclusive of anybody else. Bob and I. There are two gentlemen here who have put a lot of time and effort into this and have helped this community a lot in giving us some real plans and specs and some insight as to how we might be able to do this project on an ongoing basis, both utilizing the possibility of an outside building and renovating the inside building. If they would like to participate in this conversation at this juncture, at this point in time,
I need to get through my report, and then it's over.
Yeah, I want to go through it. And public comments there as well.
I know about the gentleman here. I have no issue with him talking. Please let me get through mine, and then you all have at your board meeting.
All right, Bob.
Please.
No, I'm with you. You're a great mind.
Good paper. You got that quote. I want that on the record.
Bob, I have no idea why your general manager's report is taking so much time.
That's why I'm trying to sit down. I'm like, I know I'm going to get blamed. So. All right, so we have a process in place that we're looking at. Jack has invited a couple of guests to talk specifically to, which is great because I think they'll be able to comment on the time frame and give any additional information. Some other things at the Beach Club, I've made several of you aware just in passing, but I just want to make sure I do it in a public setting. We did have some storm damage with that big storm that came up, basically tore part of the shell of the roof off. And so we had some roof damage, which with the roof damage and the heavy winds and rain, we had some rain penetrate into the structure, so we had some floor damage. That was pretty much the extent. The tile floor area here, and it's pretty much all on the second floor, was damaged, and I'll get you a little closer picture. So the roof is damaged, and we're getting final estimates. We're working with the insurance company. We're getting all that worked out now. So our goal is to get all that wrapped up and get those bids awarded. I will be bringing to you all bids for the roof work and bids for the floor well before the next board meeting. I thought I was going to have this one, but we're waiting on one more piece, and we have to confer with some of the slowdowns. We're working with the insurance company with that type of stuff. But I will have to cycle that one outside of normal board meetings because we need to get this structure on it. So it's really going to be new floor and replacing the metal roof. They're the two things that are coming, of which the majority of will be paid for. I don't want to say how much yet through the insurance after our deductibles come out. So we're working on that now. There was the other piece. We had a lot. This is on the second floor. The ocean's on this side. So it was up in this area where we had this side of the building is the part that actually had the roof blow off, the metal part of it. And it was leaking in through here and just started running everywhere. So all the tiles, I've got a lot of pictures of. These are all tiles that have all just held the water and started popping up. So they've been there a long time. So we just need to get them fixed. Okay, bridge repairs, just another project update. We released the RFP, as you all know, because I already shared that with you. March 16th, we did a walkthrough. March 30th, proposals are due back. and then from there, we'll have that process. We'll bring that back to you. This too will end up being a fall project. So that's our time frame. We are working with the county with the utility situation on the bridge on the Parkway. So there's a lot of things happening with this. But it's out. We're just waiting for Matt. We'll level them and get them to you. Some other projects, DMA reserve study. No comment on this. All I'm going to tell you is there's a preliminary meeting set up, okay, for April 11th at 10 a.m. That's all I have to say on that. Next, let's do it.
Yes.
Is this going to be an open or closed meeting? Do we know? What is the
Well,
board?
it's
What's the
contractual
board's
meeting.
desire? I mean,
Yeah,
what's the
right.
board's desire? Open or closed?
I think it's a contractual meeting. It's a contractual meeting we have with them. I'm not sure we should have an open meeting. Will be an open.
Yeah, this is to understand the work that's been completed so far. Any Q&A the board may have. The concern that I have with an open meeting, I know people say he likes to close. It's not because I like to close, but the undue criticism before you have a final project will occur if you don't have the opportunity to interact directly with the contractor to understand what it is, give your input so the final document can be accomplished. It's really a board call on that. I know it's going to be a mix. I have not, you all just decide. I've got the date established and the contractor will be open or closed. You all make that determination.
May I suggest, Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
that decision could be done either here today or via email, whichever is at the pleasure of the board.
Well, since we don't have two members here right now,
Okay. Is that all right with everybody? It's okay with me.
it should be over.
Alrighty, Rudy.
St. Martin's project, right out here where we're going to do the drainage under St. Martin's. It's the contract was awarded. You all approved that. Look at the first week of April to begin. Contractors getting everything set up and the materials they need and all that. So that's should be somewhere in the first week of April. Weather dependent is the biggest thing for them. Roadway line striping and trimming. We are getting some bids. We redo the parkway. There's some spots in the park that need to be relined. They've approached us, so we're getting bids to have all the striping accomplished. That'll be something that happens as the spring continues. Roadside trimming, we started some last year. We're putting it out for bid this year, and that's basically just started on the parkway where the trees were hanging over. There's requirements of how much you're required to have height-wise there, so we're pursuing that. Again, these are budgeted items. I'm just giving you updated things happening. We've also, from the road paving, we've already done the full analysis of all our roadways. That information goes to the engineer who crafts or creates the RFP, and the RFP will then put out to bid. Paving we traditionally do in the fall after the season slows just a little bit, and we have a plan, but it's always changed or modified a little bit based on road condition. It's nice to say you're going to do this road in this area this year, and next year you're going to move to here, but conditions change that impact roadways, more cuts, more utility work, what have you, and or deterioration based on use of the road. So we do a full analyze all 70 miles of roads and map it all out, and then we take the worst roads and we address those each year first. Yes, ma'am.
Is the sandpiper conversion a factor in that as well?
It should not be, but part of being a fall project, where again they're in, so we're going to be able to see what type of impact that can. And the county's done some of the pipe replacement. There's been a lot of things that have occurred. We do try to coordinate everything we can so the new roads don't end up being cut. Doesn't always happen that way, but we certainly try. Whitehorse Park bathrooms, we're coordinating, been talking with the county about any stormwater mitigation that needs to occur over here. We're also talking with the contractor about the final design, to make sure we're getting the maximum for our money. So that's moving ahead. You all saw where it was mapped out right behind the mailboxes. Again, big advantage there. The least amount of trees that have to be disrupted. We're close to the piping that we have to connect to. We're close to a sidewalk, so you have easy ADA accessibility. There were a lot of positives to having it there. So that's where we are with that project.
Do we have a timeline on that yet? Not we don't have it.
We don't until the county does final approval and the contract. It should not be a loan project. Okay, no, he's talking to someone else. All right. Any other questions for me on anything I presented to you? Or anything I didn't present you want to know about? Now I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I think before we go into the CPI or bank, we have public comments. Do we have any public? Yes, ma'am. Can you please identify yourself and where you live?
June Freeman. Is this speaker working?
Should be.
Are you here?
No.
I need this fixed.
You got to really check.
Just like me, you got to get really close.
Exactly.
Yeah, it takes a second.
Is it plugged in?
There it is.
All right. I'm so impressed that I'm really based on talking about the Mankaton Meadows project. And I want to say I'm impressed that you spend so much time and you really do feel for us and you listen. And I want to thank you very much. As Mr. Hurd was speaking, I was thinking all problems would go away if his solution is fiscally responsible. It's simple. They aren't using the courts. The noise, we have dog park there, we got baseball. It's such a simple solution. I don't even know why it's not happening. Or just take a couple tennis courts. I mean, and it's not just. I know, Mr. Cherry, you said made a commitment to them, but he made a commitment to us too, also to get 2 courts. So, when we're talking about commitments, but I want to say that. And Mr. Thompson, I want to address you directly. Sure. If you're okay with that.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and thank you. I wrote this out because I put a lot of thought into it.
Oh, maybe I don't want this.
No, you would have liked it. I would like to address you, Mr. Thompson, as I feel that you have control over the Mankaton Racket Sports Complex budget proposal. Over the last 6 years, Platform Tennis has had 3 different presidents. With all 3 presidents, you have discussed and budgeted for the building of 2 platform tennis courts. I don't think I need to remind anyone, but possibly new board members, that we play all year, 12 months a year. We play spring, summer, fall, and winter. We personally shovel our courts, we dry our courts, we sweat and freeze, but we play all year. Meanwhile, tennis plays during the warmer months, and pickleball players mostly play in the recreation center during the hot summer days, windy days, and definitely winter days. We do not have enough courts, and we wait in long lines, and we can't get courts, and we have been like beggars for the last 6 years trying to get 2 courts. That's all we're asking, just 2. Now, Platform Tennis has discovered that a proposal for building 4 pickleball courts during phase 1 has been made. Platform Tennis will get absolutely no courts during phase 1. And I just found out today that we may never have to get them because you have to relook at the budget and maybe you'll say yes or maybe you'll spend too much money and we'll never get them. We are asking you, Mr. Thompson, that you demonstrate that you have an honest general manager. We are asking you to prove that you follow through with your word and your commitment to Ocean Pines Platform Tennis, and maybe even to Ocean Pines prove that when you say something, it will happen. Thank you.
I will hit you with a husband and wife team right away. I'm Jim Freeman, 60 Boston Drive.
Okay.
I'm also the president of the Ocean Pines Platform Tennis Association. I represent about 110 people at this minute. And I'd like to start by saying no one's ever talked to me or the officers about this proposal, which I think is a disgrace. I mean, we should be included in some of the discussions that are made to us. And I appreciate that would be done in the future. And now my speech. I actually come to give you another option. Mr. Thompson's proposal is I understand why it has to be done in phases. I really do. I mean, it's just too expensive. But I'd like to suggest that we change it around and do the platform tennis first and the pickleball second. I'm strictly talking now about racket sports. Why? Okay, number one, if you follow Mr. Thompson's suggestion, what you're going to end up with is 4 pickleball courts, right? 4 new pickleball courts, which won't be used. They'll be completed, but they won't be used until the next spring. So they're going to sit empty all winter long. Tennis will gain their 4 courts back. That'll give them 12 tennis courts. Again, that'll be ready, and they'll be sitting empty all winter long. Platform tennis will get nothing, and will be overcrowded for our winter season, which is our big season, and that's not right. That's not fair. Now, if you did phase 2 first, if you made platform tennis, what we'd end up with, as Mr. Herrick said, you would end up with pickleball being able to have at least 8 courts on the tennis courts. Tennis would have 8 courts, and it would cost you nothing. Absolutely zero. They're already there, and are already being used. Pickleball, or platform tennis, we would get our 6 courts, which we would use immediately, because we play in the winter, okay? And it was already budgeted. We've been in the budget for 6 years. Somebody has always promised us, it's been put in by Park and Rec, or we've talked to some people, and they've always put the budget in there to give us our 2 courts for 6 years now. And we still haven't got them, and now we're getting recommended they don't build them at all. I hope you will consider my proposal, and I hope you will judge it as an individual and make the right decision. I think it's a win-win situation for Ocean Pines and for the entire community. And thank you.
Yes, ma'am?
Hopefully I'm loud enough where I
You want to come up here, please? We all can't hear. Our hearing isn't what it used to.
Justin, I'm Susan Morris. I live in Interlinks, and I have played paddle for years, always on raised courts. It allows you to play in all kinds of weather. Right now, you got to go down there and you got to mop and do all these things. You have an outside tournament, which was a little embarrassing when it rained and all play had to stop because people had to get out there with ratty old towels and mop the courts. Raised courts are good for paddle. And I just want to let you know that the Morris County Country Club up in New Jersey is getting in new courts, tearing out their old ones. The APTA is very happy to lend a hand as far as cost is concerned in getting these courts down here. You can use used courts, and believe me, the country club kept good care. So I just want to add that the raised courts are a good idea. You can play in all kinds of weather and doesn't impact groundwater. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on a different topic?
Yeah.
Me, Dutch, yes, please.
All right.
Give me your name and address.
Philip Ostring, Floor Guy. I'm here to complain what happened last week in the town meeting. If Mr. Thompson holds a town meeting, this is in the name of Ocean Pine. The people has to listen an hour to his story, and one man, Mr. Lunch, asked him tough questions. He threw the man out. Is all manager a dictator? He acts like a dictator, people. I was here last month. There will be no peace in Ocean Pine till this man is gone. We're going to have a new election. There will be no peace if we're going to get new people in the board. This man has to go. We cannot have a scab here running Ocean Pine.
Look, I'm not going to be called.
Wait a minute. You keep your mouth shut. You keep your mouth. Tell him to keep his mouth shut. I've got the floor. I'll pay my dues.
Dutch. A little bit more decorum, Dutch. A little bit
You
more.
have to straight this man out. I come here, I pay my dues. He has to be straight out. I want you people not to give him a bonus. Don't buy him a ship wagon and don't let him open the coffee house. It's going to be a disaster, just like his country of the yacht club. Who's going to build a $5 million yacht club and put an old kitchen in it? That shows you how much this man knows. He told me 4 years or 5 years ago, I'm going to control the boat. I'm going to tell him what to do. This is what he's doing. He's acting like a dictator, people. We have to stop it. I live on Social Security. He's taking all my money away. We pay him $250,000. He's not worth. He has to go. There's no question. How many people come up to me and tell me, don't you white, you got the guts to speak up? This man has to go. There's no peace in Ocean Pines so long this man is here.
Do you have anything else other than
Yeah, I'm telling you, if you want to be a good president, you better stop talking to that man. He has to keep his mouth shut.
I talk to him every week. We have meetings every week. He's not control me.
I'm not going to keep. I'll be back next month. This man has to go.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. Mr. President.
Yes.
There was a piece of data just presented publicly which is categorically incorrect. To make a statement that our general manager gets paid $250,000 is absolutely asinine.
It's also categorically incorrect that he controls the board. Thank you.
Good morning.
Yes, sir. Your name, I know who you are.
My name is Slobodan Trendic. I live on 20 Crawford Road. It's always difficult to follow something like Dutch. So I don't know if I'm going to get that much excitement, but I'd like to make the following comment, which I will break in 3 remarks. First, we talk about the projects. And what we witnessed this morning, and what we often witness with the general manager's report, there's a lot of information, a lot of data sharing. I'd like to just make the following statement on that. There is something in the IT industry, we call it Project Dashboard. I know we have IT environment that needs a lot of upkeep, but if you implement a simple Project Dashboard, you will have captured information that any board member at any given time at his laptop or her laptop at home, anywhere, can click on any section of the project, find out what's going on, who is responsible for what, and you're capturing the data that basically carries on forward as the board members change. That's one thing, and I think you will eliminate a lot of the repetitive information that takes place every month to discuss the projects and where they are and who's doing what and who is supposed to do what, et cetera, et cetera. The second comment I'd like to make is related to Tom Herrick, his earlier remarks about this Macklin Creek project. I had the pleasure of playing a lot of sports and played pickleball when I was in college in '78. I know how fun the sport is. But I think if you look at a bigger picture, what Tom really is talking about is the best business practice. There's a lot of communities around the country that struggle with the same situation. They have too many tennis courts, they have not enough membership, and they're looking basically at how do you repurpose the existing assets. It is the fastest return on your investment. You satisfy the needs of the new club members. You satisfy the needs of the sport that's becoming more and more popular, and it's around the year played. And you don't really compromise the needs of the existing members, in this case, tennis players. So there is a win-win for both. What I also want to remind you is that what Tom is talking about is not mutually exclusive. You don't do one or the other. This is a progressive approach. Generate quick results, you satisfy the needs of the platform players, and if the future information proves that you need to do more, then you plan for that. The devil is in the details, and that's why planning becomes very important, and that's why projects fail or succeed, because you either have done a great job in planning or you haven't done the right plan. Third remark I'd like to make is really related to what Dutch said. And I'm going to take you back to 2 months ago to Herrick's earlier motion. He proposed to the board that the board starts looking at gathering the information related to utilizing outsourcing services to handle some of the management practices of the association. What was said is to witness that some of the board members have focused more on the reason why he proposed that motion as opposed to the cause. Now, I see board members as a leadership representatives of this community. I'm not going to question Tom's motivation. I like the cause. Private sector, public sector uses outsourcing all the time. And I think it's time that we start looking at the same, because we have failed in doing a lot of stuff ourselves in-house. Yacht Club, and on and on and on. So I think what Tom Herrick proposed If you focus on the cause, not the reason, makes a lot of sense. That's what leadership is all about. Being ready for the inevitable or for the unknown. And I think it is really sad that his judgment was questioned, that his truthfulness was questioned, as opposed to looking at really what he was proposing and why that really makes a lot of sense. And that's what leadership is about. Planning and being representative of all of the community members. Thank you very much for your attention. Oh, by the way, that in itself, Tom also said that he really wanted to initiate this because he was told that if 2 people got elected, that Mr. Thompson would resign. I'm only assuming that one of those 2 is me. This is now making me rethink what should I do come this summer. Thank you.
Sir, there's somebody behind you, Mark.
I'm an old man. He's gonna give me time to
Here's your name and address.
my comments are general in
Name and
a couple
address.
questions. And my name is John Quinn. I'm at 17 Dawn Island. And I appreciate you repping on here because I know you didn't take big money. And I've been in your situation many, many years. In Baltimore County and around, and also in the court. I was Bill's attorney, not attorney, but the judge they called. And they've called me several other things. But really what I've emphasized with you here, and I think with the association, as I travel around from restaurant to restaurant or whatever, until I don't starve myself. But you need to be congratulated on that effort, and I think as past chairman of the Voodoo Warriors, I want to put a proclamation in for Tom to get the Purple Heart, I think, as most managers, which I am now, a property manager, because you do put up with some things. I'm not here to criticize on that basis. My concerns with this. I've attended a few meetings, seen a couple of them on the TV, and I think you're aware of most of it. But I think the frustration that you have primarily, and I see the associations that I represent in Ocean City, I've got one right now that you might be able to get my help because I'm thinking of retiring here at 75 by November. But the conflict arises two things. One is communication. And I appreciate the fact you discussed here whether the meeting's open or closed, and you know what the bylaws are on that. That it would have to be open and should be open for the communication, which is a problem. But I have here today, just listening, and Jack pointed out here, I'm sorry, Mr. Collins pointed out here that,
I go by
what's another 400,000 you just back and forth. And ever since the country club, the yacht club was built, and I attended a meeting, and I was absolutely shocked that you awarded $500,000 to a contractor who did not put in his estimate or his bid to $500,000 that you thought you could use the equipment in the old building. That's absurd. You have a contract, and when I used to go, I worked for Uncle Sam for 16 years in contracting, building with the United States Postal Service. And I want to tell you something. We hold the contract feet to the fire. And if they made a mistake, made a statement, and they built a quote on what they were going to do, by golly, that's what the bond issue is for. Now, it's frustrating, and I can well understand what you went through right now today, that you've got 2 or 3 projects here where the costs have continued to rise after you thought you had a bid in place. I don't know how you do a budget, if that's the case. Gentlemen, I think we've got to really, and I'm not going to blame it just on management. I've been there. I've been on your side of the fence. But by God, when you get a contract, someone gives you their word, that's what they're going to do. And it's in writing. You enforce it. Or you back off and say, fine, you pay the fine because of performance or lack thereof. Because it's important that we get our budget in line, that you have something to work with that's concrete, because it's frustrating, it's all get out, to have these back and forth conversations simply with the pickleball. Baltimore County, I was on the board of Recreation and Parks. Not a dime. Not a dime was over budget. If it came in, it was good. And this is during Dutch Ruppersberger, who's now in Congress. Worked. And you hold your feet to the fire for that thing. The buck stops here. We cannot continue to endure paying the dues and coming into a meeting or expose ourselves to these increases at $500,000 a pop. Gentlemen and ma'am, we need to bring this in line. And that's why you're here. So I think volunteerism was a big thing in our Recreation and Parks program. And it was great. Your responsibility here, I don't emphasize with you at all. It is very, very difficult. But I think the frustration with the community, being what it is because they see a budget, and what unaudited budget means, I don't know, because I think we need a real big, serious look through on our expenditures, where they're going or whatever. But I thank you for your time, and my time is up. So good luck to you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You had your hand up before, did you?
Yes.
Mr. Dean, want to come up here and talk? Or you want to have him talk?
I've got Don Smith, who's an estimator, would like to answer any questions about the beach club. So,
okay.
This is what, ask him any questions.
Yeah, Don, come up here and give us your name and address.
I'm Don Smith. I live in West Ocean City. I'm here to request to talk about the work I did on budgeting the beach club bathroom renovation.
For the purposes of being explicit, we're going to suspend the rules and allow a non-resident to speak, just to make sure we're clear on that.
Thank you. Okay. I went over and looked at the beach club, took several subcontractors over, looked at it, presented a budget for renovating the bathroom and locker rooms areas. What is there right now is inadequate restroom area. We have a lot of shower area, locker room area that can be redistributed. And I came up with a plan and presented it. There was 8 bathrooms and 3 showers in each side for the women's and men's with changing. I went down and talked to the town. You'd have to have an appraisal done as long as the work does not exceed 50% of the work that was done in the last 10 years. You do not have to bring the entire building up to code. If you decide to build a new building, you're going to have a soils report, depending on where you're at as far as the floodplain. You're either going to have precast piles or steel encased piling for the building. You're going to have stormwater management. It involves a lot more if you decide to put a new building on versus renovating the existing area.
What's your estimated, just right off the top of your head, we'll not take you to school on it. What is your estimated cost of a separate facility?
The separate facility?
Yeah.
Until it's determined what design you want, how big, that's hard to say. I gave you a budget of approximately $460,000 to renovate the downstairs of the existing facility. You're going to go at least double that if you build a new building, because of the piling and the footings that are required for a new building east of Coastal Highway. That's going to be a couple $100,000 in itself.
$200,000 for what?
The piling and footing just
For
to put
piling.
in the building. Yes. And then you have to get into stormwater management. They will not make you stormwater the entire site. They will make you just do stormwater for the area that's disturbed with the building. You're going to lose.
Point of order here. I don't mean to step in, but I'm going to. We've got an RFP that's going to be let. Unless this gentleman doesn't intend to submit to that RFP, we are allowing a bidder to make a presentation to the board of directors, which will affect the decision that we make. Now, I understand, I respect your knowledge, but we're about to violate the whole RFP process. I'm not blaming you. Hold on, I'm not blaming you a bit. I just want to make sure that we understand that we're about to let an RFP and we're getting information from a potential bidder. And I think that's inappropriate at this point.
It's not fair to other bidders.
It is not. I mean, it's just not.
Tom, I asked him to come.
That's fine.
Just figure Season Associates.
Hey,
figure it's coming from me.
no problem. I'm just trying to point out that if this gentleman intends to bid on this work, it's highly inappropriate for us to allow him to present to this board prior to the RFP going out, unless you're not going to bid, and then you can say all you want. But, I mean, that's kind of, I mean, I've run RFPs for major corporations, and this is on the edge of being highly inappropriate at this point, unless he's not going to bid on the work.
Well, then I'll defer any other further questions, and I would advise you to take a seat.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I just didn't want you walking off a cliff here, because that.
Right, and I appreciate that, Tom, because you're
going to cloud the issue.
no problem.
Okay, any other comments? I saw a lady, sir, I'm sorry. You're not a lady, you're a sir.
Thank
you. Yeah. Your
I'm
name?
Larry Bohannon. I'm from 27 Castle, and I'm also going to address the platform tennis situation. June pretty much covered a lot of what I had to say, but one of the things I want to make everyone aware of is that when we talk about we have 100, 110 members and not enough courts, what that really means. When we have a Saturday drop-in and we have the courts full and we have 8 to 12 people standing around waiting to play, you know, they have to wait for somebody to come off to be able to go on. You know, that's the overcrowding part. You know, when we have tournaments, it's the same thing. You can only play so many, so people have to sit around and wait. There's a huge interest in the game and no place to play. I don't see that happening on tennis, and I don't see it happening on pickleball. You know, pickleball doesn't even play in the winter, and as either June or Jim addressed the situation, we do the snow shoveling, we dry the courts to get out there and play, whether it's sub-freezing temperatures or not, because we play all year round. So I think from the standpoint of usage of the courts, I think the platform tennis deserves the 2 courts.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning.
Morning. Your name
Good morning,
is?
everyone. This is Linda. She's handing out, this will just take a moment of your time. Myself and volunteers and supporters of the Ocean Pines Farmers Market are here today to share 2 petitions with you. We would like to request a second day in summer only. Tuesdays from 3 to 7. There's a petition.
Name and address, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm nervous. Tracy Hoffman, 6 Brookton Lane.
Thank you.
In front of you, you have 2 sets of petitions, one that was driven online via iPetitions and Facebook, and the second one was signatures collected at market. We have 158 signatures and 39 very wonderful positive comments for you to look at. Any questions?
I don't believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that it requires our approval or disapproval. We didn't approve the original board. The existing board at that time did not. The additional farmers market, the problem as I see is coordination with the general manager to make sure there's enough staff, to make sure there's cleanup and changes and all that type of thing. And that I don't know whether he has the resources to do it. So from the board standpoint, unless somebody else thinks differently, I don't think, I appreciate this much. I don't think we need to act on it either as a motion or a non-motion. I like the farmers market. I think it was a good idea. Yeah.
We've asked 3 separate times with Teresa and perhaps Bob, and we clean up after ourselves. We take the trash out. We have a team of volunteers. We get there early, we set up, and we take down there.
Bob, do you have any comment?
No, it's first I'm seeing of this, so
okay.
I have no comment.
All right. Anybody else have any comments? Well, thank you very much. I see another hand raised somewhere. Lady, that's you.
Good morning. My name is Laura Pangratz. I live at 2 Harpoon Road, which really should be a court. But anyway, it's the dead end section of it. But I'm a part-time resident, so I am new to the area. This is my first board meeting to sit in person and listen to, and I appreciate the time and effort that all of you take to be a part of the board and everything. I want to thank Mr. Collins for speaking clearly, loudly, and into the microphone. You have been the one I have not missed any comments on at all, So, you know, maybe I'm hard-headed and haven't gotten to the point to get hearing aids yet, but I would really encourage clearer speaking or loudness for everyone involved, even including any presenters who are walking around the middle. Hold the microphone, then everybody can hear everything that's being said. I'm not an athletic person, so I really don't have any comments on any of the facility use for the different sports, other than when you come up with these kind of projects for the community, are surveys sent out to the residents? Do you base the needs on memberships into certain clubs? You know, people who bought those memberships to play, you know, tennis or whatever. I'm still learning all the stuff. I just get the little piece of paper with the things to check off. But how do you know which projects really do have a need and what's important? Do you speak to, and I guess I'm aware now that there are different individual sports groups that maybe have their own little board or whatever. Do you communicate with them? Do you allow part-time residents to interject and comment on surveys and everything like that? I hope to be a full-time resident next few years. Right now, I'm currently full-time at Harford County because I still have a child in school, so I won't move her until she's done her schooling. But we're only up here on weekends. This will only be our second summer here, which is one of the rare reasons why I won't be able to make a lot of these kind of meetings, because they're in the middle of the week, in the morning. We come up, we're only here Friday evening. If it's a long weekend, maybe we leave on a Monday. So think about possibly once in a while having a meeting on a Saturday morning or something like that. So I appreciate any kind of communication, any information out to those of us who also don't live here full time, don't get to see and participate as much as we like. I do, on a positive note, love the farmers market. I will go there before I even head home on a weekend if I'm leaving on a Saturday. So I highly encourage you to keep promoting that, add the additional day. So I do think that is a very positive thing that I have been able to partake in. And then just as a general, I do have a son that uses a wheelchair, so I know it's always should be considered, but any of the facilities or whatever, please make sure it's handicap accessible, so that a person in a power wheelchair, a manual wheelchair, uses a walker or whatever, can get in and out easily, and be able to participate so that they don't feel like they just have to sit home while mom, dad go out or whatever. So otherwise, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it, and I look forward to being more involved when I am full-time.
Thank you. Thank you. Just a point of clarification for you, since you are new here. There are 14 committees that are active throughout, and we have 7 board members, and each one of us has we're liaisons to at least 2 committees. So we know from them basically what's going on with the people. That's our pipeline.
So are part-time people allowed to apply
Absolutely.
to any of those
Absolutely.
committees?
Absolutely.
And to be able to answer the question, you know, what kind of experience you bring with more than a one-word answer, or
sure.
why not?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
That's fine. Okay, anybody else have anything to say? Oh, no. Okay, we're moving along to the capital purchases request, which is, by the way, is in the 2017 budget, not in this budget. Please. Board want to take a break? Yeah. All right, come to break. Take a 5-minute break. Bob.
Yes, Mr. Collins.
Come on, let's go.
I'll see you.
All right, take care.
Everybody's leaving. Thanks a lot. Now we get stuck.
That's where you get the big bucks.
Yeah, right.
Hey, folks, we still have some hangers on here. That's good.
Yes.
That's always behind us. Josh is going to report on us. Tattletale on us.
We got another report.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks,
Don't get
everybody.
it. Take care. The new lady, too. Are you from the Courier?
Good to see
Yes, I thought.
you. Yeah, thanks. See you again. You
Okay.
were on the east side, right? Were you on the east side?
North.
Up at Dowson?
I know Bill.
Oh, yeah.
Bill, are you still there, Bill?
No, I'm calling it back now.
Call back. Okay, well, wait. Call back. I'm gonna call. We've got capital purchases request. 3 items on there that Bob has put on here that are in the 2017 budget, not this budget. When I first looked at it, I said, what? And I realized it was next year. In fact, I know I approved the dump truck. I remember that. So, you want to take over for that?
Sure. Mr. Cordwell's
Capital
here.
purchases request, please.
Mr. Cordwell's here with us. He has to speak.
Okay, good.
And it's this way. I heard that lady over there say I need to speak. One of us needs to speak louder. So I've got that one there. So I'll lean over so you can hear me, ma'am. I heard you. Okay. The first one, and I don't know what order they're in on them. Let's start with the loader.
Yeah. Okay.
Just start there. Understand, just for clarification, at the top of the page, it does show you 2016-17 budget. So I appreciate, I've had a couple board members ask that. So yes, it is in next year's budget. The reason we go ahead and start the request process now, just because we request it doesn't mean we buy it tomorrow. It allows us over the next 30 days to go ahead and engage with the vendor, make the acquisition to build. We will not be billed for these 3 requested items until after May 1st. So the first one is the loader. These are this one's Public Works. It's a loader that we're looking to acquire. You see the budget amount was at $81,000. We've got it says Iron Source. They're 2 different. You notice the locations were different, along with key equipment and sales. So they were the 3 areas to purchase this piece of equipment. We're recommending the top one. It's within $1,000 of the budget. You do notice that we found that it would appear trading in one of our units allows us to get the most bang for the buck. A couple of strategies we deploy. When we replace a piece of equipment, there are many times we'll take 2 options. We'll take it to auction for sale to help offset the cost of the new piece of equipment, or we'll trade it in. We determine which one we believe will get the most bang for the buck. So there are times when whatever the item is, the dealership or the sales team will say, look, we're looking for this type of equipment. We can resell it at X. So if we can get a better price on the trade-in, we'll do that to offset the cost of the new piece. So that's what's in here. So we've given you the price, the trade-in, added the sales tax. So you see what the total amount ends up being. We're recommending moving in that direction. First one listed.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Are we comparing exactly the same equipment on these 2 Iron Source?
We are, but two different dealerships.
Right, but it's exactly the same piece
It's
of
a piece of equipment we want. Yes.
It's the same piece of equipment that they gave you a bid on, both of them, even though they both say Iron Source, but they're 2 different locations.
Correct.
Okay.
I have a question, Bob.
Yes, sir.
$81,000. We're trading in the same type of loader, and we're only getting $4,000 in the trade.
Yes. I don't think it's the same. It's not. No. This is the Man 2 of the new one. No, we're trading in a piece of equipment. If you recall, when we went through the budget in great detail with the Public Works side, we identified certain pieces of equipment that we would replace with an upgraded piece of equipment, something that did more for the money, gave us more opportunity to do our work with Public Works. So in this particular item, I don't have what the trade item is, but we're trading in a piece of equipment.
But not a loader.
No, I can't tell you exactly what the piece is. It's not on here. I don't know exactly what it is. But it would have been what we had said in the budget process that we were replacing. So whatever the item was.
Are we replacing the loader that we have with this loader?
I don't know what's being replaced with the trade-in. Whatever was in the budget is what we're replacing it with. Whatever was approved in the budget. I didn't have that in front of me.
So the trade-in is not a piece of equipment that originally cost $81,000. It's something else.
No, he's asking what the piece of equipment is. Yeah, but I don't. All right, they're pointing out the replacement is 212 and 205 tractors. I don't know what I don't have what they are.
Those are the trade-ins, probably.
They're the trade-ins. I don't know exactly what they are. This piece of equipment is a multi-use. We talked about. Oh, I can talk off the top of my head. I remember going through the budget. This is a different style of unit that allows a lot more flexibility and mobility. And we're getting rid of two pieces of depreciated equipment against this one. I just can't tell you what they are, though.
Okay. I move that we accept this proposal to purchase this piece of equipment.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I know.
All right, second piece of equipment is a skid loader. Notice it is a direct skid loader for skid loader, so that one's easy to put on there. There is a trade-in value. You see the value amount in the trade-in, and you see it's below the budgeted amount for the piece of equipment.
Yeah.
Again, when we look at getting deals on some, that's why as soon as the budget's approved, we start looking at what options may be there. If something's on a lot, it's a year old, it hasn't moved off their lot, we can get a good deal on it, meets our requirements, we do really look at these closely where we get the best price for our purchasing dollar.
Move to accept.
I second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, Bill. The last one is replacement of the dump truck, and this was one we had a lot of talk about, if you recall, during the budget cycle. This is one of the F550s, so we're replacing that dump truck. We're recommending the top one, and you notice it's $6,000 below the budgeted amount.
And we didn't have any trade-in for this?
No, if it's not on here, trade-in. A lot of times our trucks, pickups or dump trucks, will take to auction, and that'll reflect once we make that sale. So this would be one that we would potentially, because we're not trading it in, we would just auction it off.
Okay, make a motion to accept. Second. Any discussion?
Did you want to say something?
I don't know. The picture is, what's it say?
Tuxedo.
Tuxedo black metallic, and the description says Oxford white.
We'll be getting a white truck.
So this picture is just a. This is not the actual truck.
It's
this
not.
is just a
facsimile.
It's a good word, facsimile.
I hope
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. You're
But
correct.
I mean, are they going to order this truck, Bob, or what? I mean, you got a solid number of 54 and change, right? And this is not the actual truck that we're.
That was a 2011. The pictures of 2011.
Yeah.
Representation. But they're-
That'll change. Fine, so I'm sure.
We'd like to let you see what type of equipment, for those who don't know what a dump truck looks
All right.
like.
So the trucks in inventory. They have it
Somewhere, yeah. Okay, any more discussion? Before we call for the vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Well,
They're the only
down road,
purchase.
We have CPI violations, Bob Thompson.
With the one CPI violation is for the shed. Gentleman has put, or the property owner has put a shed on the property with no permits. We've tried to contact to have that permit submitted. That has not occurred, so we're recommending that we send it to the attorney and allow them to send him a letter.
One question. Do you know if this is an owner or a rental? And if it is an owner, is it a full-time resident?
I don't have that information. No, ma'am. But it wouldn't matter.
No, I'm just curious.
Yeah, I don't know. I just need approval to send it.
One other question. What will the action be that will be in the attorney letter? What action are we saying we're going to take?
To cure the violation, submit the permit so we can do the inspection. It looks like there's no permit in place without permits from Worcester County for OPA, which means it's an illegal structure.
I mean, are we fining him, or we're saying you got to go get permits?
You have to submit and get the permits and get it approved. So we have an approved structure on your property.
And if he ignores the attorney letter,
then we'll come back to the next step. Maybe come back and ask to go to court over it. There's steps that I just don't know. This one seems like a simple one, and sometimes people don't take action until they get notified from legal. So this isn't some of the continuing CPI violations where folks, it does not appear, have left the property or vacated. I mean, it's a nice looking shed, so it's not disrepair. A little different.
Right.
Yeah.
I would like to find him in continuous violation and prove that this action be to the attorney for action.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay.
Mr. Cordwell?
Yes, sir.
We're up to you with your rescind previous motion. Do you have that at your fingertips, sir?
I do. Did we remove the secret speech clause that I have on mine?
Yeah, you weren't available at the time. That's moved into closed section under legal contractual matter for discussion. The board approved that with an amendment to the agenda at the beginning of the meeting. So we are to you, sir.
Good, because that was my question on that, why it wasn't in closed session. Okay, if you can understand me, if a motion is made to rescind an original motion made by Director Clark on 9/27/2014 regarding non-lethal control of non-migratory geese.
Second.
Okay, the original motion in reference to controlling the non-migratory geese population instructed the administration to create a no-mow area around their ponds. Discussion to date, we cannot confirm any positive results from these no-mow areas. They have created an unsightly appearance around the pond. This motion would give the administration the authority to remove the no-mow areas and clean up around the ponds.
I have a question, Bill. Is the motion to rescind the entire original motion, which would include monofilament lines also, that they can be removed?
Yes, to clean up around the ponds, because I don't believe that there's any monofilament even left. The last time I walked around there, it's just stakes are still there, and the monofilament keeps getting cut or whatever. Okay. That would be yes, to clean up around the ponds.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any more discussion? Call for the question. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Jack, did you take?
No, I haven't removed anything yet.
Okay, all right, I'm just saying, I can't remember. I remember you raised it.
Yeah. I have a motion in front of the board to write post-let request for a proposal, RFP, for bids for the renovation of the existing bathhouse located within the Beach Club facility. Posting is to occur on or before 4/15/16, stating a deadline of submission by 5/30. Construction is to commence by mid-October and completed for the spring-summer season of 2017. For the sake of, and by the way, the I'm not going to ask for a second for the sake of camaraderie and working together and realizing that Bob is as smart as I thought he was because he thinks a lot like I do. I'm going to withdraw this motion, and I'm going to depend upon Bob to give us a complete I'm looking for, what I would like to see is all of the participating bids. I would like to review all of the participating bids, both those that recommend a standalone building and those that do not recommend a standalone building. That's all. Just to compare costs.
For any project like this, the board always receives all of the information to review before passing.
Then I'm good to go. So I will withdraw this motion for now, and depend on Bob to keep us informed on a timely basis.
Okay, moving down, thank you, Matt. Moving down the line, we have a motion, second reading resolution.
Motion, the board accepts the revised FO1 for second reading and therefore final approval. We do have the chair of the Budget and Finance Committee here with us today. If there are any questions, we need a second. Right.
Second.
Thank you. Just as some background for folks so people understand, this draft went through in the first reading. It went out for public comment. It was a very good and healthy conversation yesterday. Jack Collins and Dave Stevens and myself were all at the Budget and Finance Committee meeting. We had a good back and forth with the committee. Some suggested revisions were done as part of the public comment document. So the document is now finished and in my position ready for approval. But if there are any questions about content or anything in it, I would request the board allow the chair of the Budget and Finance to help answer the questions.
Well, we don't have a copy of the revised FO1 from. Is this it?
Yeah.
In fact, it was sent out to you late yesterday afternoon.
Via email?
Via email.
Oh,
I didn't.
In our board package.
And it's in your board packet.
That's where I got.
See, I've got number 6. That was one of my concerns. Number 6 in the stuff that I have says that when investing in individual U.S. agency securities, GSEs.
They're in the mailbox?
No, they were sitting on the table when you sat down.
Right. So Jack didn't get one?
Don't think so, Tom.
Oh, okay. You got two. Okay.
No, there was one.
I thought there was one put over there for Jack.
There was. Should be actually one for David.
Look around, see what you find. I got Dave's here. Is this Dave's?
There's something on the floor.
No, that was
Is it moving?
Jack's
I don't know what
that was something I put here and it kept right on moving.
It's a large lizard.
Moving.
Jack, to your point, your number 6 from yesterday was removed.
Yeah, I now have David's, but I still don't have mine. So, I don't know if that was an oversight on your part or
Should have been right
we're
there.
trying to pull a fast one on me.
Absolutely, Jack. Exactly.
Here's yours, Jack. Right,
Oh, thank you.
right, right.
Be careful of those papers that are right in front of you, Jack. That could be a problem.
Boy, Jack.
Those for you.
All right, I'm with you.
Remember, Jack, for you.
Well, basically, Tom is right. There was a good back and forth, and what the committee decided to do, the BNF committee decided to do, was to embrace the overall purposeful statement that was originally in the old resolution. Is that right, Pat?
Purpose, yes.
Yeah.
Matt, come up to the microphone so folks.
Well, you don't have to. You know,
You know,
there's only 3 people in the room, Tom.
I know it's not near as exciting as pickleball and
Yeah, these meetings are streamed to the internet,
know,
and there's
I know.
thousands of people.
Anyway, the purpose is nothing but a recopy of the previous investment guideline purpose, the one that is currently on the books. The overview it was streamlined down to create 2 categories: operating funds and reserve funds, and that's it, right, Pat?
for the purpose and overview.
For overview, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, right. And then we took out some other items. And more importantly, that to me was the number Roman numeral 5 on page 2, delegation of authority, responsibility for the oversight of the investment process for the Ocean Pines resides with the treasurer and responsible for conducting investments transactions resides with the general manager and the controller. I would hope that would always, I thought the word oversight was going to appear in here, but I would hope that
It does, Jack.
Says oversight.
Oversight, responsibility for oversight. Which it's in the nature of the treasurer anyway. I mean, that the treasurer could navigate that responsibility even if we weren't here, but I think we discussed that we wanted it in here clearly stated. Under 5, responsibility for oversight of the investment process is the treasurer.
Okay, I got it.
Okay. Is there any other discussion before we go to the question? Thanks, Pat.
Thanks, Pat.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The next one, the motion for second reading of resolution CO3 has been approved. Correct. Anything you want to say about it?
No, I mean, I said earlier that the P&F committee asked for them to do it with pulled back for them to do more work on it. We said fine.
Okay. Now, the next item on the agenda is new business. Does anybody have any? No, I'm sorry. Oh, I almost skipped. I don't have any. For Cheryl.
This is just
Wait,
to,
bathroom.
yes, this is just to make a record. I'll refresh your memory. And at the February 25th board meeting, there was a motion to move forward with the White Horse Park bathrooms, but it was deferred for a vote by email for some members to get some additional information. And so I'd like to report for the record that that motion did pass. And that was on at the close of business on March the 3rd.
What was the final vote?
Final vote was 5 yes, 1 no, and 1 abstention.
Right, sure. Okay. Now we can move ahead to new business. Is there any new business? Are there any pending actions? That's none down. Under appointments, we have 2. Bill Wentworth, who was here earlier, he's the chairman of the elections committee, and he's coming in for
I move that
reappointment.
both of them be approved by acclamation.
Okay.
Both.
You want to move that they be approved by acclamation?
Acclamation.
Okay, so moved. Second? Any
I'll
discussion?
second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. I move that we adjourn.
Actually,
Wait,
we
no, you can't
moved
do
that
that.
we adjourn into closed session.
Well, first we have to
We'll
ask
have
for
media questions.
If I may,
Don't forget the media
for
questions.
clarification purposes, I know you just went to affirm something by acclamation, but you should, for the record, at least mention 2 people and what
Yes,
you're
you should.
affirming. You said one, but you did not say the other. I think for the record, it needs to be on the place.
You want to put
The other person, Martin Clark,
For
for the bylaws and resolutions. This is his first appointment.
Thank you.
we have media questions. Josh?
Yeah, who was the no vote? Who was the abstention? White Horse Park.
Pardon?
Who was the no vote and who was the abstention on the White Horse Park map?
Mr. Stevens
Yes.
was the no vote, and Mr. Collins abstained.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, call for a motion to adjourn to close session, where we will discuss contractual.
So moved. There's a second.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And we'll move over to the boardroom and then.
You opposed?